Good morning. This meeting of the California High-Speed Rail Authority Board will come to order. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Director Schenk, Vice Chair Richards,
Yes.
Director Rossi,
Yes.
Director Curtin,
Here.
Director Lowenthal, Director Camacho,
Yes.
Director Miller, Senator Bell, Assemblymember Arambula, Chair Richard.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move through our agenda. The first item is public comment. Mr. Roland LeBrun. And let me just say, I have no comment cards after Mr. LeBrun, so if you wish to comment before the board this morning, please give your card to the secretary.
Good morning, Chair Richard.
Good morning.
Directors. The reason I made the trip today is to give you a brief update on the Panoche alignment, follow up on a couple of comments I made last month, and close with the strongest warning I will probably ever give to this board. On Panoche front, everything's looking really good, and I would strongly recommend taking the TGV between Marseille and Lyon and look out the window as the line weaves its way to the Massif Central. But in closing, the reason I made a trip today is to ask you to stop the NEPA assignment process immediately. Not because the FRA could stop you from wasting tens of billions of taxpayer dollars, but because the FRA, that is about the only people who are capable of containing the criminal incompetence of the consultants who are currently in charge of designing grade crossings and stations in a mixed traffic environment, including freight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. LeBrun. I have no other speaker cards, and so the public comment period is now closed. We'll move on to the regular agenda. The first item is the approval of the board minutes from the August 16th meeting. Do I have a motion? It's been moved by Director Lowenthal. Second? Second by Director Miller. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Vice Chair Richards,
I'm going to abstain.
Director Rossi, Director Curtin,
Yes.
Director Lowenthal, Director Camacho,
Yes.
Director Miller, Chair Richard.
Yes. Okay, the minutes are approved. Our next item, which is what I think will be a standard item at board meetings, is a report by our CEO, Brian Kelly. Good morning, Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. As you alluded to, I think as we kick off every meeting, we'll have a brief presentation to describe some of the activities that we're working on to keep the board informed, answer any questions about what we're doing, and certainly take any guidance on some of that activity. Also to report milestones or events that occurred that are noteworthy and make sure we have an opportunity to describe those. So with that, the first item that I wanted to bring to the board's attention is really some good news, which is the passage of SB 1172 before the legislative session ended. SB 1172 was a bill that really treated the authority when it comes to right-of-way process and our process to gain the parcels we need to deliver the project, treated the authority like other oversight agencies in California that build linearly, Caltrans, DWR, as opposed to just building vertically. And so this bill streamlined the approval process, reduced some entities that are involved in different elements of that process, and really leaves it to the authority to put together the the work to obtain properties, and then we go to the Public Works Board for a resolution of necessity, similar to how Caltrans goes to the California Transportation Commission. It's estimated that this bill will save between 3.5 and 6.5 months off of our process for obtaining parcels as we go forward. It's effective at the beginning of the year. It's a majority of our bills. We'll see the effective date of January 1st, but we can start to plan for it now and put this improved process into use as we go forward. I want to acknowledge some people who did great work on this. I got to say the first one I need to thank is our board member, Ernie Camacho, because I think on the day back in January when I was first appointed to this position, one of the first things he said to me is, let's fix the right-of-way process. So I'm happy to report that we did that, and I appreciate not only your counsel to me on it, but also conversations you had with members of the legislature about it. So thank you, Mr. Camacho, for that leadership. Also to Senator Galgiani, who started this bill in the Senate and moved it through the Senate in the earlier part of the year. That enabled us to expedite the process when we jumped into a different vehicle in the Assembly and came back for concurrence later. So that was extraordinarily helpful and excellent leadership. And of course, the Transportation Chairman and one of our ex officio members, Jim Bell, who authored the final bill and pushed it through, and our other ex officio member, Dr. Rambula, who jockeyed the bill through the Assembly. So again, great work. It's on the governor's desk awaiting his action. Internally, I want to also just acknowledge the great work of our legislative team, our legislative deputy, Barbara Rooney, Jack Worston in her office, Will Robinson. They all worked really hard on that. So that was a big victory to get it, and now it's our job to put it to use and make it work. So I wanted to first acknowledge those folks and make sure you're aware of that accomplishment. The second thing, just to let you know, because you may be hearing about it in the weeks that come forward, as you know, we've talked probably most publicly at our April meeting in Los Angeles about returning to Southern California to move forward on preferred alternatives for our environmental alignments. And we have begun the public outreach process to move forward with that. We will be in Bakersfield in October to move forward with the LGA as our environmental document for that area, to do a preferred alternative for Bakersfield to Palmdale. And then the following month in November, we're poised to be down in Southern California for the preferred alternatives for the 3 segments down there. And so we have started some process with public workshops and meetings, letting people know what's coming to the board at those hearings. And we'll be continuing that work at the end of September. So we are moving forward on that, and we're looking forward to really focusing our work in those segments and moving the program forward. So it's good work that we're doing, but you'll start hearing more and more about it as we go forward. Finally, well, a couple more. We have restarted a process of engaging stakeholders on exactly where we are as a project, where we are as an organization, and what we're doing going forward. We held in the governor's office a workshop with all of the environmental stakeholders about this project. This was sort of concurrent with the release of our sustainability report, which we went through with you all last month. And we sat with the environmental stakeholders and talked about, again, where the project is, the good use we're putting of cap and trade money for a project that is the greenest infrastructure project in the country, and talked about the benefits of this project and again, the good use of things like cap and trade dollars to ensure that you're investing in not only transformative transportation, cleaner transportation, but transformative land use as well. And so that was a good conversation. We followed that up with a conversation with our sister state agencies about where we are, what we're doing, what our challenges are, and the things that we need to work together on going forward. And we are now preparing for roundtables with labor and business and economic folks. So it's really just giving folks a sense, after we've had 6 months of new leadership here, and putting out a new business plan, a new program baseline, getting to a new PMP. It's a good time to update folks on where we are and where we're going, and so we've started that process as well. Finally, I want to note and thank a couple people relative to an event earlier this week, the High Speed Rail Leadership Summit. At that summit, both national and international leaders gathered in San Jose for the high-speed, I think the inaugural National High-Speed Rail Leadership Summit. I was scheduled to attend and make a presentation, but I fell ill over the weekend, and I want to thank Board Member Lowenthal for stepping in for me and presenting a presentation on this to the body. Rod Diridon presented our board chair with the first annual Governor Edmund G. Brown National High-Speed Rail Champions Award. Congratulations, Dan. And in addition, the board chair was named the incoming chair of the U.S. High-Speed Rail Association's advisory board. So I want to make sure everybody was aware of that. And of course, our gifted sustainability director gave a presentation on station area planning at that event as well. So I wanted to cover those things. And lastly, just a personnel matter. We've had an exceptional leader with us in the Central Valley who's really been helpful in moving our project forward and keeping work on track down there. I want to ask Terry Ogle to come up here. Terry, join me. So Terry unfortunately informed us recently that he's leaving the authority for a new and great opportunity. Congratulate him on that. We've certainly put a lot on his plate, and since we've been here, we've asked him to do more and more and more, and he's continuously stepped up. So I've got to say, I had a chance to talk to Terry down in Fresno on Friday. Thank you for all you've done for the project, the work that you did for us. Wish you the best of luck going forward. And I want to present you with this ticket that says, in part, Terry, thank you for all your hard work in helping us build the nation's first high-speed rail system. Through your contributions and perseverance, you have been the ticket to our success, and we wish you the best in your future endeavors. And it's the classic high-speed rail ticket. Terry Ogle.
Well, thank you, Brian, for this recognition, and I want to thank you all, the board, for allowing me to just say a few words here. It's been an honor and a privilege to work on the high-speed rail. I came here 5 years ago from Caltrans, and I want to thank Diana Gomez for giving me the opportunity to come over and work for her in the Central Valley at that time. And it's been a tremendous opportunity. It's been a great run for 5 years, and so I just appreciate that. And it's been an honor and a privilege to work with a number of exceptional people in the engineering field. I put the people that I've worked with here as some of the best and brightest and experienced people in the world that I've worked with over the last 5 years. And so I thank the board, I thank High Speed Rail, and I thank the people that have been supportive of me for giving me this opportunity. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Terry, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, that wraps up my report.
Can I just make two comments quickly? One is that for those of us who were at the High-Speed Rail, U.S. High-Speed Rail Association meeting, I want to compliment our communications staff. They showed the video of the construction update report. I've seen some of these videos in the past, and they've always been good, but this one was particularly good. It was, I would say, extraordinarily good. So one of the things that I think would be, if my colleagues haven't seen it yet, perhaps I could ask the staff to just send a link out instead of making people go search for it so that they could click on that. It actually is quite invigorating to see the progress down there for those of us who aren't there all the time. So that was one thing I wanted to say. And then the second thing, I just wanted to note that you made reference in your remarks to new leadership over the past 6 months. I note that you've been here 8 months, so I think we should talk about that 2-month gap at the appropriate time. So.
It's just bad math. So.
Any other comments or questions for our CEO? Thanks. I think this will be an important thing to have the CEO report every month. It's a good way to proceed with business. Okay, so that concludes our public agenda this month. As our CEO, Mr. Kelly, said, over the next 2 months, we'll be taking on some very important work to designate preferred alignments. It'll be the culmination of a lot of staff environmental work, both in Bakersfield and then in the San Fernando Valley following that. So we do have a lot of stuff coming up and kind of balances out this month's light agenda. However, we do have a number of matters to discuss in closed session, so the board will now enter into closed session in an anteroom off of this auditorium. At the conclusion of that, I'll come back and report any actions from the closed session. So we'll stand in recess to closed session. The board has completed its closed session. There are no action items to report out of that closed session. So with that, this meeting of the California High-Speed Rail Authority Board is adjourned. Thank you.